Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Tall and Short of It race companion. We've got the start of the race. Go ahead and call it for us, Aaron.
So Verstappen got a great start off the line. Perez up to second, making a run. Charles Leclerc, Sainz gets hit by Ricciardo. So a terrible, terrible start for Ferrari with some bad luck. Leclerc fell back to fourth behind Ricciardo. Carlos Sainz makes it about 3 turns, and he is beached.
Yeah, he's out in the gravel, and that's rough for him. He had some struggles over the weekend. Obviously, Carlos has not been feeling too good about the car under him, so that is not going to leave him happy here today, and not leave him happy for Team Ferrari either. That's a lot of points that are going to be out.
Oh yeah, and on a wet, rainy day, a lot can happen, but yellow flag. I'm surprised there's no safety car as of yet, because Sainz is not going to be able to. Yep, there's the safety car. So Ricciardo knocked Sainz, sliding into the braking zone. Oh, that's a tough start. And like you said, after a tough weekend in general, not great luck in the sprint race. Ending up in that P4 position, I think Ferrari were hoping for a little bit more. But yeah, man.
Yeah, and that could be a little bit with the tire warm up as well, because we've seen with these new tires on the coming out of the pits and some of these race starts. Yeah, it seems like the tires are a lot colder, and I'm curious if Daniel was having issues with warm up.
Yeah, it looks like just the grip in general was pretty tough there, but not the best start from Sainz anyway. He kind of had trouble getting off the line there. Ends up side by side with Ricciardo and just gets tagged.
Yep. Interesting.
That is a tough start for the Tifosi and one of the Ferrari home races. So
yeah, not what you want to have happen at your home race.
And here we're getting Valtteri's on screen. Oh wow, the visibility is brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't see a whole lot from behind those cars.
Yeah. So Valtteri probably took some front wing damage there, bumping into Ricciardo after he bumped into Sainz.
Well, and they're just showing us like every camera angle here too.
Mm.
Well, it looked like Daniel may not have had anywhere to go. He immediately just tries to get it through the gravel.
Yeah.
Get back to that access road.
Oh, definitely. I think I don't think Daniel did too much wrong. I think that their tires just kind of overlapped, and unfortunately, Daniel's front right and Sainz's back left just tagged each other, and that is a brutal way to start. And also, again, we're starting the race like we started the sprint race with a safety car within the first lap of the race. Mm-hmm. But right now, I mean, we got great starts from Sergio. We had Sergio move right up into P2. We saw Lando get a great jump and hop up into P3 with Leclerc falling back a couple places. Great start from Russell to get himself all the way up into P6 too. That's awesome.
Yeah, with the wet starts, obviously a lot of position to be gained right at the start with, people catching grip issues, some shifting issues and whatnot. So yeah, Russell really made use of the time there. Kevin Magnussen up in fifth looks pretty good.
Yeah,
He
and really
seems
a lot of
very
shake.
happy with the car currently.
Yeah, he seems comfortable, and I was gonna say that was the other surprise looking at this grid is that Schumacher fell from 10th down to 17th. That is just bad luck. It sounds like getting tangled up in all of that craziness, losing some positions. Ricardo gets a pit stop and is back out on the track.
And it didn't look like they swapped his front wing either.
No, it looked like it was just tire changes, so probably just making sure everything's good as well.
And it seems like they had Carlos Sainz's car up on the hoist, so I imagine the safety car will be going in here shortly.
Yeah, and so Max just on the radio talking with his team about potentially getting on slicks, but I think they've determined it's still just a little too wet out there.
Well, I heard Otmar Safnauer talking on the pre-race show. They were asking him about tire strategy, and he threw in a cheeky little, and we'll get on hards if we can, or not hards, he said slicks. And so I thought that was interesting. It sounds like the Aston Martin team are looking for their first opportunity to hop onto the slicks, because it seems like it's not raining currently. Obviously, there's like some standing water on some of the corners, but I don't think it's currently raining.
No, and I think it's like so things are drying up a little bit at a time, but and so that'll continue to as the cars kind of shed some of this water with the car heat coming across the track. But yeah, seeing all this water spray up in this replay of the start, I don't quite think it's time to go on the slicks yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see drivers try and go onto them pretty early, maybe around lap 10 or so. Try and go on the hard, see how long of a run you can make it, but I think that's going to make things interesting. Will we see people do a two-stopper with switching onto the slicks and then another stop, or maybe see people try and go for a one-stop, really long stretch?
Dude, this onboard cam of Ocon is insane. This start looks just impossible with no visibility.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Wow, that helmet cam is intense.
Very
cool.
Major props to him because at most it looks like all they can basically make out is the back of the car in front of them and the little red tail light ERS saving up energy.
Right. It looks like that's how we got our Mick Schumacher down in 17th. It looks like he got tagged if that was him in the Carlos Sainz kerfuffle. It seems like he got bounced off a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling we were going to have a start like this. And here we go. Wet weather racing. This is fun.
Oh, yeah. Are you watching Sainz walk back to the...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we are all caught up.
Cool, just making sure we're in the right spot. But yeah, safety car is ending, so Max is going to try and get a good run. But really, Sergio's the one who's going to have to defend the most. So, with Norris and Leclerc right on him.
Yeah, and Perez is super close to Max. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I love the little cat and mouse games.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Up. Down.
Yeah, I think they caught the McLaren, way off guard.
Yeah, I think they got a nice little run there. Man, looking at those cars bouncing, that's crazy. I can't imagine how difficult that must make it to control the car just as you're bouncing along with.
Oh yeah, for real. That's got to add a pretty significant layer of lack of controllability. That's got to be brutal.
Yeah. But this is huge right now for Red Bull. I mean, you've got Max up in P1, Sergio P2, and you have Norris who, in a fast McLaren, I think the car is just a bit too slow to keep up with the Red Bulls, and he's holding Leclerc back at this point. So I think we're going to see the Red Bulls look to be able to stretch this lead a bit and kind of force Leclerc into some different strategy, whether it's tire strategy or the undercut or anything like that.
Yeah, especially if he's not able to get the overtake done on Norris for whatever reason here in the next, 2-3 laps or so to not let the Red Bull lead stretch so far. He's really going to have to get something done on Norris or, like you were saying, swap it up to a different tire strategy to try and get it done on, a pit window or whatever.
Yeah, because he's going to be... I think he's going to have some struggles getting past the McLaren because they have looked pretty quick this weekend. Lando and Danny Ricciardo both were having a pretty solid weekend in both the qualifying and the sprint race. So that's going to be a tough battle for Leclerc.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that they were talking about and leading up to the race, looking at the traditional quali and the free practice that we had. Like, we saw Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris having much better weekend than they've had previously. Races like Bahrain or Abu Dhabi at the start of the season. So they're doing much better now. Total just sidebar. We've got, is that an Alpine driving around with his side pod broken out?
How
did that happen?
Guess we're gonna see a little tangle with Lewis, maybe. Oh, it
just flew off.
Yeah, that's crazy. No. Wow.
That's probably not safe.
I mean, I think Max drove with a pretty damaged side pod in a race last season, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue, but that's going to be very, very difficult now for, So it looks like Alpine and Alonso, unfortunately, are going to retire the car. Whoa. Holy cow.
Well, and I know what you're saying about Max, where he got in that tangle and...
it was not like that, though.
No, that just literally popped off. That's so unsafe, man.
My camera is causing me some issues this morning, but...
Let's see. I'm a Fritz. Well, good thing our viewers are hopefully looking at the race and not looking at your face.
There we go. But yeah, so Alonso out, Sainz out. So 18 drivers, 7 laps, and 56 of them to go. So
yeah, we've got curious if we're gonna see drivers have some more overtaking opportunities as the track dries out. Because the longer we stay away from any rain falling down, the sooner we get to a dry line forming. Track starting to speed up a little bit, and maybe teams start to think about maybe a different tire strategy, as the water dissipates.
Oh yeah.
As the water stays on the track, obviously finding overtaking lines other than Leclerc or Norris getting it done.
Yep.
Finding some overtaking lines is going to be tough. Where you're putting a tire on slick track. And that may not be the best solution. But, Charles Leclerc gets it done on Lando Norris and quickly starts spreading the lead here. So hopefully he'll be able to catch up to Sergio and then start making headway onto Max.
Yeah, it's he's got a long run to make now, though, because being stuck behind Lando put him a decent chunk further back than I think he would have liked. So... Max with the clear air, putting in the fastest lap. I think really the big key is going to be seeing when everyone goes on to the different tire strategies and switching to the slicks, which I don't think we're there quite yet.
No, neither do I. But like I'd said, the longer we go with no rain coming down, the sooner they're going to look to get on those. But yeah, I think here for a little while we're gonna see some of these green wall tires here yet. Although interestingly enough, depending on what the degradation level is like, we may see some of these drivers just stay on the inters. You know, if it never really dries up, we may see one stops like right till the end. Because if you're on inters or wets, you don't have to make a pit stop.
Right, and so we could see that happen. I don't think that will happen though. Just only scenario would be, I think, if it starts to rain again.
With like little drizzling consistently, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think most of the drivers prefer the inters just because of the speed and all.
Sure.
So I know that we've seen instances where people have worn down the inters until they're basically slicks on their own, and they're just really worn and kind of continue on them. But I think that we'll see probably a lot of the teams on slicks throughout the race. Maybe someone will try and do something tricky. Maybe Alex Albon can take care of a pair of inters or a set of inters through the entire race, but
it's amazing how much heat gets generated in the turns. Like, that's where the dry line is forming, like in the turns and then outside of the turns, not down the straights or anything. That's amazing how much energy gets pumped into the tires, and then like that warms the track, and then evaporates the water. Like, that's actually fascinating to me.
yeah, all the friction of the
strategy for Albon.
Well, and Leclerc is making some headway gaining on Perez, but he's lost a little bit more ground on Verstappen. So Verstappen in the clean air is just, he's been able to stretch this lead a little bit at a time. Max on the radio saying not dry enough. They're talking about possibly switching if there were to be a safety car or something. And he was like, it's not dry enough. So,
Gotcha.
so we've got definitely some areas of the track that are getting better, but there's going to be a decent bit of area where it's still just a little too wet right now. And we've got video. We've got George Russell right on Kevin Magnussen coming through the chicane there. But Magnussen really putting in a nice little drive so far. He's looking good. The Haas car is looking great. Russell looks like he's going to have some trouble trying to get past him.
Yeah, especially without any DRS in the wet conditions, it's going to be really tough to gain that speed advantage down the straights. We'll see how much advantage he has without DRS.
Yeah. And right now, so just some other points of note. Hamilton outside the points right now, P11, just behind Stroll. We've got Valtteri Botas just up in P7 right behind George Russell and Kevin Magnussen. So he's just a few car lengths back. And then, of course, the Red Bull 1-2 right now, which the more that Perez can keep Leclerc behind, the better. For both Verstappen in the title fight as well as with Red Bull and the constructors. That's huge having the 1-2 right now.
Yeah, and I think that's going to give them a big boost of confidence moving into the next couple races here, especially if Max is able to make it all the way to the end of a race today. But yeah, going back to the George Russell, Kevin Magnussen battle we have going on, it seems like the Mercedes is a little bit quicker here than the Haas, but Kevin doing a good job to defend against George Russell here. Although it seems like that straight line pace, even without DRS, he is making headway on him.
Yeah, I think George with the DRS is going to be able to get past before too long, but Magnussen's really he's holding him up pretty well and really making a fight out of this. He looks pretty strong with his defense so far. Here we go, Russell around the outside.
Gets it done down into turn 2, 3.
Oh, gets a little out of sorts, bumps across the chicane, and Magnussen takes the position. But now Valtteri Bottas is right on George Russell's tail after that little battle. I thought he was going to take an opportunity to sneak by.
Yeah, and he could have done. I imagine he's going to keep on hunting here shortly, and depending on when the opportunity opens up, he may get a nice little 2-for-1 if Kevin Magnussen and George stay so close.
Yeah, and if anything gets a little shaky like it did there, that leaves a huge opening for Valtteri to come through. I think here we'll see Russell go after it again on the next straight. Oh, wow.
There he goes. Oh, wow. They are so close together.
That was a very nice move by George there. And Botas trying to sneak in. Yep.
Kevin is keeping it within racing distance behind George. He hasn't really extended the lead here.
Oh, yeah.
That looked like some distance.
Yeah, he's gained a little bit, but I think coming out. Oh, well, and sorry, I wasn't even thinking. I guess we don't have DRS because of the wet track. So I wasn't thinking about that. But yeah, that'll make it a little tougher for Magnussen to try and get that back. But Bottas is right there, too. Russell now about a second ahead of Magnussen, putting that gap in a little.
Yeah, and hopefully Valtteri can use these drivers ahead of him to kind of pull up the paces a little bit. P7 is really good for him, really good for the Alfa Romeo, especially in the scenario where Zhou Guanyu, his teammate, is all the way back in 17th. So Valtteri really putting a score on the board here for Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, and same with Magnussen up there fighting along too. Both of them trying to get as many points as they can for their team with both their teammates out of the points right now. We had McLaren coming over the radio and entertaining the the broadcast by saying that they've got some class 0 to 1 rain coming in the forecast. So not sure exactly what that means, but it may mean that Inters are going to be on for a bit still. So we might be losing some of this dry track that we've started to get throughout the race so far.
Well, and that'll add an interesting little wrinkle here back into the race. We'll see how the teams and the drivers react here. But yeah, I think we're going to see these Inters for a little while longer here.
Yeah.
Imagine 0 to 1 intensity is like, just a little pitter patter on the roof.
Yeah, it's just a odd way to describe it, or I guess that's maybe just a term that they have internally with the team to kind of describe how heavy that is, of course. But yeah, it's getting interesting because now they are really just waiting to see if this rain starts because the track looks really, really dry right now.
And yeah, you have to wonder what the radio messages to the drivers are like, if they're putting them in like holding patterns, like, hey, don't waste your tires because we're expecting rain. If they're saying go after this guy, maybe you can get him. I'm curious in these changeable conditions, we would call it. I'm curious how the communication works and what the call is like to the drivers and how the strategy changes.
Yeah, and I think we'll also see a lot of teams just kind of waiting to let someone else make the first move with that strategy. I think especially with Red Bull, the risk of being out front and making that switch first, if things don't go well, they lose out a lot. So kind of waiting to see how things shake out. Verstappen saying he is sliding more.
Interesting. So as it dries, the intermediate tire is sliding more.
I guess they lose a bit of that grip, or maybe just at least as much as they're used to with the slick tires on the dry conditions. So you definitely you have less surface area. You have to drive a little differently. But looking now at the grid, Max has about a 6.5 second lead on Sergio, who's just a little over a second over Leclerc. So Leclerc has made up a lot of headway on Sergio so far.
Yeah, that Ferrari is for sure fast, and Leclerc knows he's got to get up there if he wants some more points. So yeah, he has really taken that lead out of the lead from him to Perez is dwindling.
Yeah, he's putting in some good times. Lewis still just stuck back in P11 while he's fighting with Stroll. We've got Tsunoda, Stroll, Hamilton in 9, 10, 11 right now. Just in this little train, but man, seeing and Lewis and the Mercedes bouncing around so much too. It's incredible seeing between Mercedes and the Ferrari how much movement the drivers have inside the car.
Yeah, and then one way you look at it, it's really impeding the Mercedes drive. At least it seems like it's impeding it for Lewis big time. George doesn't seem to be having as much of an issue, but it's still a bouncy car. So you look at that and then compare that with the Ferrari. That's we see Leclerc bouncing relatively. What would you say? Relatively significantly, but it doesn't seem like it's affecting the pace at all, really.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference between the Ferrari and the Mercedes is they're both dealing with the same issue, but the Ferrari power unit and engine and all is just has some better power and straight line speed or just pace in general. So whatever they are doing, they did a very good job in the off season. So getting on the radio with Red Bull, they were asking if there's a possible safety car, would you want to come in? And he's like, okay, now we're at a point that we could switch to slicks. So
I'm curious what the radar is looking like right now, because what we just saw, a couple minutes ago, it seems like rain was going to be coming right over the track. So it's interesting to hear Red Bull wanting to talk about going on slicks if there's going to be more rain hitting the track here.
Yeah, well, Ricardo coming in and getting the slicks on, putting the medium compound tire on. So I guess we will. I guess this is what I think a lot of the teams were waiting for, was for someone towards the back here to throw those on and kind of give them a shot. So we'll see how after a lap or two what happens with those slicks. But there's still that huge risk. If rain comes, once you switch to those slicks, you're going to be in bad shape.
Yeah, do you remember, was that last year with Sebastian Vettel where he got on the slicks like 1-2 laps too early and was just like fishtailing all around? That was actually insane to watch because like previous to that, you would have been like, man, like what do these tire compounds really do? Like it looks all like the same tire. But then you see a moment like that and you're like, oh my god, yeah, these have no grip at all.
Oh, yeah.
Unless they're like melted to the track, obviously, because they have heated.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing. So with it looks like Ocon maybe coming into the pits there, or Vettel into the pits. But with the tire, like the intermediates and the and the wet tires, so they have the grooves and everything throughout, and so as they're going through, the water is forced into those cracks, so it's not making like contact with what is giving the grip for the car, or that I think is the idea. So shedding all that water, but it's just so it.
Get rubber to road instead of rubber to water.
Yeah, but it's so interesting, like the difference between the two. I think, and we're seeing, yep. So we see Red Bull pull Sergio in as Leclerc was on his tail, but I think we'll probably see Max come in on the next lap in this case.
Man, this seems like a really interesting tire swap.
Yeah, and everyone going on the mediums, so I think we're expecting another stop at some point later in the race then as well.
Right. Very, very interesting. I'm so worried for the teams that are coming in that it's just going to start raining like right now.
Yeah, like that would be just the luck of everyone who's come in to pit for those slick tires. But Russell coming out, Botos coming out, Perez out on those medium tires. Oh, Botos 11.8 second pit stop. Couldn't get the front right off, I think.
Gotcha.
There's a crash in the pit lane. Contact in the pit lane between Ocon. So, unsafe release somewhere, I feel like.
Yep. I'm curious if it was right after the Aston Martin here.
Leclerc boxing. This is going to be tough to get these slick tires up to temperature, though. I think we're going to see a lot of slipping and sliding. Max in the pits, Leclerc in the pits. Max out. 2.3 second pit stop. That is great for Red Bull. Little slow for Ferrari there. So losing about a second and a half between the two on that pit stop.
Damn. Did you see one of the guys' responsibility was to run out in the middle of the pit lane and throw his arms up and say, "Hey, we're here"? That's such a who gets that job? Do you think that changes?
Youngest or newest guy to the team. They're like, you gotta risk getting taken out. So
first out to the pit lane.
Yeah, so Ocon and Hamilton unsafe release. Perez just gets past Leclerc there. On the warmer medium tires, and let's see how much of a gap he can put in here between the two of them. It looks like there is a huge difference right now in terms of the tires grip between that one extra lap.
Wow, and that's huge too. I remember hearing Damon Hill talking about the tire warm-up period and how that is something that these drivers are really going to have to get used to, because the way the blankets and the Pirelli tires from last year used to work. Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Damn, that Alpine.
Yeah, I feel like that has to be noted. That has to be an unsafe release. I mean, it's not on Ocon, but it's but the team definitely cannot get away with that.
Right.
You got to be. Oh wow.
Little safer here.
Yeah. And that is so tough when you've got the other team. Just watching Valtteri's pit lane replay there, really tough. Like when an entire another team is like all there around their car to just get in and out.
Yeah, it's got to be so tough to shuck and jive in those scenarios.
Yeah, I hit a little snag. So can you with my stream? Can you let me know where we're at?
I've got George Russell fastest lap just left the screen. We're on lap 21 of 63, and an FIA steward message just came up about Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, gotcha. I think
fastest lap just ticked for Hamilton.
let me know. Okay, I think I'm all at the right spot then. But yeah, we've got now a 2-second gap between Checo and Perez. Max has about 7 seconds on Sergio as well, and then Lando is just a ways back here behind Leclerc.
Yeah, they found a really good pit window for Max, and yeah, Perez getting it done on Charles Leclerc on those warmer tires really is setting up Red Bull for success here. Seems like their tire strategy has worked out up until now, but we have Charles Leclerc getting pretty close to Sergio Perez, making their way down into turn 1. But looks like the Red Bull has some pretty good pace in those chicanes, so the Ferrari not gaining ground there.
Yeah, and so just a half second behind, Leclerc is right on him, so Sergio's going to have to put up the strong defense that he has become well known for. What did they call him? The Mexican Minister of Defense or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the most important battle, I think, to watch right now. But of course, seeing further down the grid that 10, 11, 12, you've got Stroll, Ocon, Albon all within about a second of each other. And of course, Ocon's still with that under review for the unsafe release, so could end up with a time penalty, stop and go. Yeah, and so 5-second penalty just announced for Ocon.
Which is fair. I think though. I think the pit stop should be a little cleaner than that. Obviously, there's a lot going on, but people can get hurt, and that's where it's got to really be clean. So I think that's pretty fair. And it's not necessarily Ocon's fault. Like I'm saying, I think it's more on the little engineers and everybody directing where to go in the pit lane. So
yeah, it's all on the teams there. The drivers are being given that green light to hop out and get going. You can't really fault them. They're blind as they're coming out. So definitely on the team. So unfortunate that Ocon's getting hit with that. Definitely a tough spot to be in. But watching this battle between Perez and Leclerc, looks like Leclerc may have used a lot of his energy trying to make a run at him, because Sergio is really opening that gap up now after Leclerc was right on his tail for a little bit there.
Yeah, it seemed like Charles was hunting for the retake there pretty closely after Checo got it done. And like you said, it seems like he may have used up a lot of energy trying to stick so close, because honestly, Sergio seems pretty unbothered with his pace right now. Doesn't seem like twitchy coming out of the turns or anything, so it seems like he's just driving his strategy.
Yeah, and looking like just really solid, like you said. No shakiness, twitchiness, just driving his lines, driving really cleanly, and putting in some good laps, including just now the fastest lap of the race. So it's been bouncing all over with the fastest lap as the tracks continued to dry up. I think that rain, so far as we can tell, might be a non-issue. So
a non-issue for now seems like, and I if I remember correctly, we would be in the window for the next 10 laps. So maybe we'll see. We probably have 3 or 4 more here. We'll see what happens. But I would imagine the radar technology that these teams would have are better than our guesses. So if they're going on the slicks, you have to figure they're doing it for a reason. I can't imagine a team would risk going on slicks if there's like rain in 5 minutes or whatever. That doesn't seem reasonable.
Sorry, say that again. They're talking something about George's, like they weren't able to make an adjustment with his car in the pit lane, so he may have some aero issues. Is the gist of what I got there.
They may have been trying to. They may have been like adjusting the front wing, because I know that's something that you can do during pit stops.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just something like that.
Probably, but it sounds like it won't be a huge issue, but it's just something to, I guess, keep an eye on. He still has a pretty big gap between himself and kind of everyone. He's 6 seconds behind Lando. He's 12 seconds ahead of Botos. He's kind of in no man's land there a little bit. As we're now getting to watch the Hamilton, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Stroll train come through.
Honestly, Lewis is not able to crack into at all. He's not racing with Gasly here at all, and Gasly's not really putting too much pressure on Albon.
Yellow flag though. Mm-hmm. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so back to green. It looks like Mick was off the track for a moment there. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's weird, too, because we do have a pretty dry line here that's developed. It looks like most of the racing line is pretty dry. We'll get the replay here of Mick going off. It just seemed like he boiled it a little too much. Oh, with a nice clean spin there back onto the track. Very flashy.
Oof. Man.
Quite unsafe, if I do say.
Oh, yeah. That is... not a fun way to go through there. Gonna flat spot his tires probably with that slide. But he's really just unfortunately not having a great day after starting P10, a great performance in the sprint yesterday, to come out and just not have the best performance. I'm sure it's not his idea of a good time. We see Stroll going after Tsunoda, but can't quite get past him there.
Yeah, and it seemed like he went even a little wide. I think he put one of his tires into the grass there.
Yeah, you saw the spray kind of come up as well. So
Lance Stroll not able to get it done here, but we have this little pack just rolling through. Looks like starting with Tsunoda, Stroll, Ocon, Albon behind.
yeah,
We got like a 4-car little train here.
it is definitely a lot of cars struggling to pass and get that those moves done without the DRS and with the slightly wet conditions and all. It's interesting to see because it's like essentially a DRS train going on right now.
Yeah, just with no DRS.
Yeah, but seeing.
Wow, yeah. Super wet out there on the edge of the track. That was crazy.
Oh yeah, so he didn't even go off, and man, very good driving by Yuki there to not force him into anything. But yeah, that is crazy how much water's on the edge of the track in those spots still.
Well, and heads up to Lance too, because the second you saw that spray, he just backed out of the overtake as well. I'm not sure he had the full pace to get it done anyway, so it might just been like a twofold just back out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was clear he realized he didn't have the pace in the wet there. Just backed off, gave the turn back to Tsunoda, which is fair.
Yeah, and up back towards the top, we've got Max still with about 6.5 seconds on Sergio. Has about a 1.5 seconds on Leclerc. So Sergio was able to put a little bit of a gap in, and so if DRS is enabled, he's outside of that zone, which is huge for the Red Bulls right now. Like that is going to be the key if they're going to climb back into this constructors battle, into the drivers championship battle. This is the kind of thing that they're going to need. I mean, you have a Merc in 5th and a McLaren in 4th, but both of their teammates out in 14th and 15th, so not in the points. We've got one of the Ferraris, of course, the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, out of the race. So this could be a huge gain for Red Bull after having some really unfortunate luck early on in the season.
Yeah, a weekend where they're able to get just as many points as they can. Right now, Max with the fastest lap. obviously that can change over the race. But Max with the fastest lap currently, that's another point. He got 8 points on the day for the sprint race. So yeah, hopefully just a points grabbing day here for Red Bull in their race against Ferrari in the drivers and the constructors. Obviously, Red Bull having a boon today, like you were saying, Carlos Sainz being out. So yeah, just a pretty big one here for Red Bull currently if they're able to seal the deal.
Oh man, and Leclerc getting up on him. But yeah, it's a huge points weekend for Red Bull. Like being able to get Max at least 1 point back against Charles in the fight yesterday with the sprint race. But gaining 2 points in the constructors. Every point's needed when they've kind of fallen this far back early, but it's such a long season. I mean, this is one of 20 more races. So
long time to go, and the result is pretty far away. So I think I think overall Red Bull is just taking it one step at a time and not getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah. Oof. That is. So Sergio going across the grass, and so that is why Leclerc all of a sudden went from a second and a half back to 0.3 back very quickly.
Yeah.
But
a lot of pace taking that little shortcut.
Yeah, but built that back to a little over a second. The Red Bull just looks like it has a little better pace than the Ferrari this weekend so far.
Yeah, I'm curious if that's like the setup that they brought. If Red Bull was able to make some changes, are they struggling on the tires? I'm curious what it is, because up until the race today, I would have said that the Ferrari looks really good and the Ferrari is going to give the Red Bulls a show. But it doesn't seem like, without DRS anyway, it doesn't seem like the Ferrari is able to make these overtakes.
Yeah, and so that is going to be the interesting part. I'm honestly not too sure why DRS hasn't been enabled, so now we're going to have to just kind of wait and see what happens when it does, or if it does. I mean, 33 laps to go. We see Max starting to get through the back markers right now, so kind of working his way through there on the back of the grid now.
If it's only the if it's only dry on the racing line, it makes sense that they don't enable DRS, because you have to go out into to get the overtake done.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the reason. That's just an educated guess.
That makes sense. So I think that's the most likely reason. But talking about on the broadcast right now about how they feel the teams should be, or last season would have been on the radio with the race director trying to get DRS enabled for anyone that it would help, and not the way that they are doing it this year. So no communication like that back and forth to cause any controversy or anything. I think they addressed that really well. I know we had talked about it a lot at the end of last season, but just the fact that we had so many, I don't know if it was necessarily issues, but it was such a visible thing that I think it caused fans to really start to kind of question a lot of decisions and things that were made, whether they were made because of the teams and lobbying, or if it was actually the decisions of the race director. I think this is kind of how it should be, just a little less random entertainment. No more, no, Michael, no. But but I think we want everything to be clean without any controversy, especially after last season. So I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, as do I. I think it just cleans up the race day a whole lot more, and it makes the phrase "on merit" just, I think, all the more like it resonates more in my head. Where yeah, they didn't get the race win because you know, because Christian Horner's on the radio and he got DRS enabled where, maybe it shouldn't have been enabled and yada yada. So it is more up to just traditional racing and what the drivers are able to do in the given conditions. Because the word that you use, lobbying, um, really sticks out to me in the sense of like, we really don't want this to seem like the floor of Congress where just like whoever yells the loudest gets the thing done. We are here to watch racers race and get it done on the track. So when it does happen in the office rooms and on the pit wall, it does leave a dissatisfied taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to say I am pleased with the changes that they made to the race directing on race day, where obviously the teams are able to get messages through to the race stewards and the race directors, but there's intermediaries and they're taken as messages, not live on air broadcasts to the world. You know, yelling.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good change in seeing. Seeing the thing like with the safety and the thoughts that are going in from the race direction about the DRS, like you had mentioned, like going off that racing line is so wet, so you wouldn't want anyone to be kind of balancing that safety along with could it make our car a little faster. Like that's not what you want to be running into. So still no DRS. But I, like you had said, it does come down to like the drivers and the racing. It's like there's still so many opportunities to make overtakes and to make things happen. I mean, we saw George Russell get past Magnussen and then slip up on the chicane to allow Magnussen back through earlier in the race. We saw Sergio Perez just under brake and run off through the grass and gravel and everything and lose a second of his gap to Charles Leclerc. Like there's so many opportunities for mistakes in these conditions, especially, that it really like allows the drivers to take those opportunities. And right after we finish talking about it, DRS has now been enabled.
There we go. Now, I think a lot of these chasing cars now that have been stuck behind other racers are really going to unlock and hopefully find some overtaking opportunities. Because, yeah, it seems like the rain has missed us here on the day, and now we're really opened up for some racing here.
Yeah, so see if I think right now Hamilton is like the only person in DRS of the person in front of him. So right on Gasly, we'll see if he's able to make a move and start kind of making his way up the grid, getting after towards Albon, Ocon, and all towards that P10 position.
Well, and if, obviously we've seen Hamilton do it before where he just like leapfrogs up everybody. It's basically just like a green arrow next to his little acronym, just going all the way up that grid on the side. So I feel like this DRS and it being enabled is going to be a secret weapon, because he still has. I mean, my man's still got like 28, 29 laps to go or so. So he's got a lot of time.
Yeah, he definitely does, and we're seeing Gasly got in range of Albon there, so he also has DRS. So Lewis is gonna have some tough times getting past him still, just because now we're starting a little bit of a DRS train with Albon right there.
Yeah, which ends up just pretty much negating the advantage, especially like all things being equal, they're all getting the same speed advantage down that straight, so it doesn't really change much.
Yeah.
So shout out to Albon, started 18th, now 12th. Good on him.
Yeah, looking really, really good. Just this season in general, I've been so impressed with him, and how he came back into F1. I think due to just like how things were with Red Bull and him being dropped from their driver lineup and all. I think a lot of people took that and kind of ran with a little bit of a thought and a little bit of a like storyline that Albon wasn't necessarily good enough to be in F1 anymore, and that they gave him a shot and it didn't work out, so off you go. But seeing Williams pick him up, and them come up with some really good strategies to utilize his driving skill. I mean, 10th place in a point, now up in P12 right now. That's really awesome to see, especially in a Williams car that I think needed. I mean, they had a big seat to fill with George leaving to Mercedes. I think Albon has stepped in quite well with that.
Yeah, I agree. And I was listening to an interview with Kevin Magnussen talking about his re-enlistment with Haas and the conversations with Günther Steiner leading up to his release from Haas. It was never about whether he wasn't fit enough for F1, or it wasn't about whether he was a quick enough driver. There were other elements at play that led to Kevin Magnussen losing his drive. So I say that to say that there is a world where maybe Alexander Albon is an F1 caliber racer. Just something was going on behind the scenes that we'll never know that made him not the right racer for that seat.
Yeah, well,
And
I was gonna say.
go ahead.
Oh, like just something that we had talked about on the podcast the other day. Like maybe it was just the fact that the Red Bull car, he wasn't suited, his driving style didn't suit it very well, and that forced him to not perform as well in that car.
Exactly.
But you were saying, sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good. Just to say, like, there is a world where the racer is up to snuff and is an F1 quality driver. There's just so many other like politics, scenarios, setups at play that could lead to, like just your favorite driver not getting a seat, even though he's competitive with all these other guys. So that's a great point to bring up, where I am happy to see him and Magnussen back, where it's clear that they are deserving of these slots and are able to put competitive performances on. And it may be a nod to these teams, like, all right, so maybe we're not supposed to be so hasty with our driver lineups, because like these guys that we thought were not the right one for the seat. I mean, Kevin Magnussen, he's up in 8th right now. Albon, he's up in 12th. Like, these are performances that are worthy of a second look, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely. And Magnussen especially, I think that Haas, their big thing was they needed someone to bring in some money to the team at the time, and so they made that decision to go with a big name that can get big sponsors like Schumacher. And then Mazepin, who I mean, was, I think,
Probably likely bringing in a fuck ton of money.
Oh, absolutely. But I think he was close to being F1 quality. I just don't think he was quite there. I think he got the leg up because of the financial reasons. But that's neither here nor there. I think getting Magnussen back in the seat, like you said, it wasn't really due to his drives that he got let go. It was a lot of those additional things that are involved in the driver lineup and the team. Like, you've got to be able to have the finances that you need. I think with the new spending cap and everything, that's definitely a benefit to some of those teams that are towards the bottom, like the Williams and the Haas, to kind of keep them within a little bit more range of the top constructors and everything. And we're seeing that performance with all the work that Haas put in on the car over the past 2 years.
Yeah, and I have to say that seemed like when we were talking about it last year, like, oh, they stopped development. Oh, I hope it works out. Like, it honestly all felt like a meme. It all felt like a joke. It all felt like this thing that was just going to come up in 2022. They're still going to be at the back of the pack and just not improved at all. So it's actually quite interesting, and I think it's going to key in for the future of Formula One in my mind, where if a team does say something like that, or that's a strategy, or there's some scenario where a decision like that is involved, I'm actually going to lean in a little more and be like, oh, that's interesting, because we've seen a team like pull it off and do it well, and like it seemed like such a gamble. It seemed like, oh man, you're going to take a whole fucking year off. It's like when your buddy before everybody leaves for college, he's like, oh, what college do you go to? Oh no, I'm taking a year off. Like, that does not seem like the strategy, dude. But yeah, it really worked out, because it seems like Kevin Magnussen has a car under him that he can drive, and obviously we've seen Mick Schumacher do some pretty impressive things with the Haas. So yeah, it really worked out, and I did not believe for 1 second that was the right play.
Yeah, it was a big gamble, and because they could have spent all that time developing and just gotten it wrong, and like it would have been so much time and effort and all wasted. But that is not the case. We just saw on track, we saw as Max is climbing through the back markers and lapping, he just lapped Lewis, and I'm sure that feels pretty weird to be in that position after such a competitive battle this past year.
Oh, I know. Just to be relegated to just like waving to him as he speeds on by, that is pretty brutal, and has to be a little bit of a little hurt for Lewis, in the sense that, yeah, they were so competitive, and now Mercedes has this big just glaring aerodynamic issue that's leading to significant pace deficits.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, we can see that there are ways to improve it, and for the engine to be able to perform well. I mean, the McLarens have figured something out running the Merc engine, that they've suited the aero to it better, or however they've done it. They've got a car that's up there in P4, very competitive. I mean, Russell is in P5 as well, so it's just really odd to see with Lewis just kind of being stuck there and not being able to quite get comfortable or find the pace he needs in the car.
Well, I have to say, this has big vibes of, Valtteri Bottas Mercedes, where, you would see Lewis Hamilton up in 5th, and then just like weirdly, there's Valtteri down in P14 with the same exact car. Like, what are you doing, dude? This can go quicker.
Yeah.
So there is this sense in which, like, wait, so why can Russell go P5 and, Hamilton's only down in 14th? Obviously, there's been a whole race. There was a whole qualifier. Obviously, there's, like, all these scenarios, or all these circumstances. I'm just saying, it feel where we've talked so much about teammates being on par with each other, a world where George Russell is racing better than a Lewis Hamilton, that's weird.
Yeah, well, especially like you said, from qualifying to the sprint race and everything, like with Russell, obviously today he got a really good start out of the gate, and Lewis has not gained or lost any positions. So George got a great start that got him up there, and it has been pretty difficult to get as many passes. So I guess it makes sense a little bit that they'll be kind of stagnated to some extent where they started, especially with the DRS being off for so long. But now...
You sound like me defending Valtteri Bottas.
I know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I think that there's, like, a lot that goes in, but also, like you said, at the same
An
time...
insane amount that goes into it.
But as you said, like, with the qualifying and everything, he's not even really been able to put in the one-lap performances there. Out in Q2, I believe, again this past... or on quali this weekend. It's just not being able to quite find that pace. And with the Red Bull, we see Leclerc now dropping to about 3 seconds back on Checo. So Max just out there driving, smooth sailing. Sergio as well. Would this be the first one too that we'd have this season?
For Red Bull, yeah, because it was Max, Leclerc last weekend, and the other 2 races he was out.
Well, no, I mean, did any other team get a 1-2? I don't remember.
Yeah, Ferrari got a 1-2.
Did they?
Race,
okay,
sure.
That's what I was.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, but this will be the first one for Red Bull.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it definitely would be. Leclerc just on the radio asking about Plan D, and they said no, stay out till the end. So, and a little
O-ring.
Ooh.
Seal cap, it looks like. Oh, that looks like something important, actually.
That looks like a gear of some sort, or definitely concerning.
We're saying all these car parts, it was actually just Nicholas Latifi's bracelet.
his charm bracelet.
Yeah, exactly. With all of his trophy, like mini versions of the trophies that he has on it.
Everything all the way up through. He gets a new charm every time he wins wins a race. It's gonna be disappointing to lose that.
Worth a lot of money.
Looking back at this battle again, we've got Hamilton right on Gasly, right on Albon, and just a short distance back from Ocon. So we're just going to kind of continue in this little DRS train, but Lewis is just hanging so close right on Gasly there, which is awesome. Like, it really shows even further down in the grid. Like, cars last season could not stay this close for this long without overheating. Right. Like, it makes it so exciting to see them able to get that close.
Yeah, where you would get like half of a lap of, pushing close, you can't get it done. All right, now that gap just balloons to 10 seconds because the dirty air was, too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a lot of excitement here in how close they're able to run. And here we go, Lewis trying it on Pierre Gasly. He needs like one more DRS. We'll be able to get it done. He is sticking so close on the tail of that AlphaTauri right now.
Yeah, that is quite the battle that we're going to be continuing to see. So Gasly hanging in there, but really struggling to keep Lewis at bay. And talking about the clouds now getting much darker, it looks like might get some rain coming through again. So we'll see if drivers end up making that switch over to inters again here in the race.
Yeah, and I'm curious. Well, they have to wait for rain to hit the track before they go on the inters, or they'll lose so much pace.
Oh yeah.
So it really is going to be teams flying by the seat of their pants, I think is the phrase.
Yeah.
Until the rain starts coming down, and we're going to see some quick shifts into the pit lanes here. Yeah, hopefully Lewis can maybe get some work done with these two cars ahead of him before he's got to go into the pits.
Yeah, so with that DRS and the slipstream again, just stuck with Gasly getting DRS off Albon. He's He's just not quite able to get what he needs, and then Albon keeps stretching that gap between him and Gasly a little bit each time around. So Gasly isn't able to get past him either.
Yeah, and if Albon puts it a little far out of DRS range, that's going to leave Gasly just dead in the water to Lewis Hamilton because he's not able to get that boost that Hamilton's getting on him behind.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's going to be really difficult to keep that Mercedes behind him. Another battle we got going on, we got Yuki Tsunoda putting it pretty close to the pass of Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, we're seeing him kind of Magnussen, that is, slide slowly kind of down the grid. Still like putting in a really nice performance, but just like dropping little by little. But P8 is still a great performance, and it is for Yuki too. So Yuki getting passed up into that 8th position, winning out on that battle with the DRS on the main straight.
Yeah, a lot of room to get it done down there on the pit straight. Although pretty tight turn going into turn 1. We've seen a couple of drivers put it in pretty quick there. But yeah, well done for Yuki Tsunoda there, nice and clean.
Yeah, really nice drive from him so far. Very clean, staying out of trouble in the early chaos and everything, and able to make a nice little move there and get past. So Yuki very excited on the radio.
Oh, he should be, man. He's I think the difference between Yuki last year at this time and Yuki this year at this time, it's literally night and day. He's a totally different driver.
Oh yeah.
I know, and I'll continue to say it. I was super high on him before he came into F1. I think he showed a lot of like glimpses of like good, if not great, performances for his skill set, and I think now he's just continuing to level up. We're starting to expect Yuki Tsunoda up in the points, 7, 8, 9. We're expecting to see him up there at this point, and I think that speaks to the pedigree that AlphaTauri has become, and just the practice and effort that Yuki's putting in. Obviously, he moved closer to the Red Bull factory last year, putting so much work done to like integrate himself with the team and learn about the strategies and work with the engineers and become a more complete F1 driver. We're seeing the fruits of that labor right now with that pass that he gets done on Kevin Magnussen. He's up in the points continually and not making the same mistakes as he was last year. So I think he's just been an absolute treat to watch and is an asset for AlphaTauri as an F1 team. Honestly, I think he's doing a wonderful job.
Oh yeah, he's grown so much in such a short amount of time. It's exciting to see because after 1, 2, probably 3 years, it really gives you the like full impression of like, does this person have the potential to be a top racer in F1? Are they putting in these performances? Are they driving just really well with the car and everything? And Leclerc coming into pit.
Now he's going on to softs.
Yeah. Yep. So soft tires coming out, as Justin said. See if he can put in some good laps. But where is where is Lando coming? He must have been quite a ways back, but he's going to have warmed up tires, and this is going to be that tough spot. So Lando getting past Leclerc into P3, and we'll see how those soft tires warm up and kind of bounce back.
Yeah, I'm curious if the pace will kick up a little bit more, if he'll be able to close the distance there to Norris, because obviously he's on like old medium tires at this point. I think those would be a couple laps old by now. or more than a couple laps old for
Probably
him at
about
this
probably
point.
about 30. Yeah.
Here we go. We got the Red Bull team moving. Whether it's going to be for Sergio, there it is. Sergio into the pits here.
Yeah, well, and I think he had enough of a gap on Lando and Leclerc, so I think he ends up with the
Points, dude.
yeah and the free stop, so that's huge. He's gonna come out still in second position and have a really nice opportunity to get a good warm up lap in before he's got those drivers on his back looking to battle again.
The Red Bull Last Shadow cheater pit stop, dude.
The
Free recall, not allowed, dude.
Leclerc just gets back past Lando, so he'll be trying to make a run here back at Sergio. So we'll see see how things go. I think Red Bull's going to bring Max in as well now that he has such a huge gap to Checo.
I didn't hear what the radio message said.
So just with Verstappen, they were explaining why they were boxing this lap, that Checo had come out, gotten a free stop and all. So clean stop, not anything crazy, but that 2.3 is just that's the clean pit stop that we expect from Red Bull. So coming out with plenty of time to spare and just gonna hopefully not lose that fastest lap. I think that was the biggest concern from the Red Bull team there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it looks like I don't see any squirreliness on these first couple of turns. So it seems like Max had a pretty good getaway there from the pit lane with the new tires. I know we've seen some drivers kind of fishtown a little bit coming out, having a little trouble with tire warm up. I know these tires have been such a bull for these drivers to try and ride.
Yeah, and Leclerc then on the radio there saying he thinks they should have gone for medium tires instead of softs. So
interesting. Well, at that point, he would have had a lot of laps to go. Obviously, we've closed the distance here, but yeah, they were hoping that was going to be the thing to catch him up to Checo. But if they're falling off, like, well, why would he be saying that? Like, does he feel like he's losing grip? Are they falling off to some degree? I'm curious if he needed more laps to try and get it done, as opposed to like just some more pace, because it seems like he's pretty close to Checo. Maybe he just needs him to last longer.
yeah, I think that's the concern. I mean, it's not a lot of laps left, but I think if he's putting this this pressure on so much right now, and really grinding those tires down from the get-go to try and catch Checo, I think he's like, okay, I need to have the longevity to put in lap after lap of grinding to try and get past Checo to make sure that these tires last.
Sure. It was like a trade-off of like raw, like couple lap pace, as opposed to the longer game of going to the end and being able to push harder on each of those laps.
Yeah. So seeing Leclerc now in DRS zone of Sergio Perez, but it looks like Checo is starting to put a little bit of a gap in between, and we even saw Checo charging up the battery a little bit on the braking zone.
Oh, that's rough. Leclerc just spins.
Oh.
Back out onto the track, but that's going to be a lot of time lost.
Yeah.
That's the gap gone.
And also looks like he may have damaged the nose of his. Yeah, I see his arrow is going to be really tough right now. He's going to be fighting with that car. Oh, that is brutal.
And then he pits to fix the damage, it looks like.
So, oh man.
Yikes, dude. And that was just just a straight up spin. I'm curious if he tried to accelerate like on the white line.
I think he might have caught the curb and just slipped a little bit. So full new front wing, new soft tires on, down in to P6 currently, and he's gonna have Seb Vettel and Tsunoda coming through. So
Move from Yuki right there on the pit lane.
beautiful with the DRS there. We've got, yeah, that would be crazy on the pit lane.
Oh my God, dangerous driving from Yuki Tsunoda.
He's flying through the pit lane. But
so Yuki's up in 6th. The Leclerc shenanigans drop him all the way down to 9th behind Kevin Magnussen, almost out of the points.
yeah,
He's almost out of the points on a weekend where, like, they were just looking untouchable. Oh, he bounced it up over that curb.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, at least he's still in the race. Honestly, any harder of an impact, he would have been done. That would have been a red flag.
Yeah, that was.
Flag at least, like maybe a virtual safety car or whatever.
Well, but he could have so easily just been out of the race right there.
Right.
That is the kind of mistake that we saw from Sainz being impatient the other week and really pushing too hard too early and taking himself out of the race. I mean, Leclerc is in a spot where he's gonna maybe only take 2 points here and leave Verstappen and Perez, the Red Bulls at the top there, to just take away. I mean, talk about earlier saying a huge points weekend for Red Bull. This would be like insane to cut into it. I think Leclerc.
Now it's a point swing.
I mean, Leclerc, I think, had a 47-point lead after last week on second. So not even on Max. Max was down in P5, but putting in the fastest lap, P1, P2. Norris also, just a credit to Lando. We haven't talked about him much, but that's just because he's driven a clean race. He's looked good. He's been a little bit in no man's land throughout, but he's just putting in good lap after good lap, and he's hung in there. Hasn't made any of those mistakes.
Well, and honestly, like I think the key to Lando's race has been he's just been in the Ferrari pit window this whole time. So every time the Ferrari, every time they pitted or made a strategy change, Lando Norris was right there to scoop up that position. Like, he was always within that pit window.
Yeah.
Just dancing in that upper tier of the grid, and honestly, it seems like causing problems for the Ferrari. So yeah, great race to Lando. Great strategy from the top of the grid there for McLaren. I think, like you said, he's run a great race so far.
Yeah, and Leclerc able to get up and gain one of those positions back up in P8 past Magnussen. So 6-7 laps to go, and he's got a lot to gain on Vettel. But with the soft tires, he might be able to make up that gap. The fresh soft tires, but still having there's the risk that he might be having some issues still from that impact.
Yeah, I know we saw on the radio him saying that the balance doesn't feel great. So yeah, I think these next 7 laps are going to be a bit of a kick in the teeth here for Leclerc, especially because that was just straight up his mistake. Nothing happened. He was in relatively clean air and just boiled it. So yeah, he's gonna be feeling that one all the way up to Vettel's behind, I'm sure.
Yeah, and he just, like I said, I think got a little impatient. He was concerned about trying to get up to Perez and stay in that DRS, and he just he made a risk, and it really hurt him there. So hopefully not more damage. It'll be interesting to see if he can climb back up into maybe P6 by the end of the race. But there's not a lot of race left to do that.
Yeah, not a whole lot at all. Same Lewis Hamilton. We're seeing the picture-in-picture of him just fighting Gasly literally all day. He has been the bane of his existence.
Seriously.
Yeah, not a whole lot of overtaking getting done at this Imola track here today. Whether that was due to wet track for most of the race, but even after it warmed up and after the DRS was enabled, we had so many little bunches and little skirmishes going on that nobody could really get too much significant overtaking done.
Yeah, I think it's a tough track for overtaking. You definitely have to pick and choose your moments and all. But we might see a little bit of a shakeup. We've seen Valtteri Bottas get within that 1 second of George Russell at P5 to P4. So Bottas chasing him down. And with the DRS, it's going to be interesting to see how he can do. I think that would be awesome to see Bottas be able to continue to put in these kinds of performances for his new team.
Valtteri is putting in the kinds of performances where he's trying to make his ex-girlfriend jealous. Just like, ooh, look what I can do. Ooh, you got that little young boy? Look at me. I can beat him. I can beat both of them. Exactly. Valtteri is just trying to seem...
Valtteri's like, you sure you dropped the right guy to bring Russell in?
Exactly. Old dog, new tricks here for Valtteri Bottas, putting in, honestly, a great race. It looks like he looked for the move down the pit straight on George Russell, but he'll look for the next opportunity here.
Yeah, and he's in such a close proximity to Russell's rear wing. He's like able to hang in there, only 0.4 seconds back, just trying to maintain that distance to make a move here. And we see Leclerc get up into P7 past Seb Vettel. 4.5 seconds back from Yuki Tsunoda, though. So there's still a pretty big gap that he would have to make up in the next 4 laps. That's at least a second per lap to make that up.
Yeah, and then from there, the gap to Valtteri is significant. So if he is able to catch, Tsunoda, that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean that is just salvaging as much as he can from that mistake, and as much as he can for the team this weekend because they really need that. Fortunately for them, they got some decent points for both cars in the sprint race, so that helps them to not lose too much of a gap in the constructors. But yeah, definitely just a brutal weekend for Ferrari and for the Tifosi here in Italy.
Yeah, it was looking like a weekend to remember for the home crowd here. For the Ferrari home crowd in Italy.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to say. And yeah, it just has all gone to shit in the span of like an hour and a half. With their star driver Leclerc making that mistake, putting him down in P7. Carlos Sainz got knocked out on lap 1. So yeah, just when it rains, it pours.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And Lando taking advantage of that rain with a really good qualifying performance, solid sprint race, and just being able to kind of cruise up here in P3 right now. Like that'll be a very exciting podium if that is how this ends. Don't want to give a caster curse on anyone. But if Lando's able to wrap this up and get a podium, the jump that McLaren has made from their start of the season to now is just incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah, I imagine the McLaren team will likely want to forget Bahrain and Abu Dhabi here from the start of the season. Those were quite abysmal performances based on Australia and what we had. Well, today from Lando, obviously Ricciardo getting knocked out early, coming together with Carlos Sainz. That was just unfortunate, but overall overall, it seems like the package that McLaren has brought to these last 2 tracks has been far and away above what they were doing the first 2 races. So yeah, kudos to him, and Lando's had a great day if he's up there on that podium today.
Yeah, and I think Ricciardo, like the McLaren team after that start, they made a gamble doing that second pit stop to put him on the hard tires. I think they were hoping that there would be an opportunity maybe with a safety car, virtual safety car, to get him back up a little bit, and to not have to pit and kind of regain some of those positions. And since that first initial contact, we've had a couple spins, but no incidents that have needed more than yellow flags. So that's kind of one of those gambles that teams have to make a little bit. They're like, okay, we're in a bad position. Let's hope for the best and prepare to take advantage of it. And they just have not quite had that luck.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, Verstappen on the radio on these final laps, what was he talking about?
So he was, I think, just checking in on how many laps were left. And so Leclerc just got up past Yuki with 2 laps to go, or on his second to last lap. So I think the big fight here is going to be this one that we're seeing now, the Botas and George Russell fight. He is right on him, and I think he is close enough in the DRS to potentially make a move here. George charging up his battery as much as he can, though, to hopefully use that and avoid the overtake. But this is going to be the most exciting part as we're coming into this last lap for those two.
Yeah, and Valtteri has had a couple of good chances already. George obviously getting his elbows out. They are coming up here to the pit straight, it seems. Valtteri not able to... I guess they're now on their last lap.
Yep, so they're just starting theirs. But Valtteri with the DRS getting a lot of speed and just can't quite get there. So that was one of the last opportunities that he might have to get past. It looks like George defended very well there. And as we are seeing them come around, we're now seeing Max looking to wrap up a very clean race.
Damn. Start to finish, man. Never phased.
Yep. Beautiful race from Max. So congratulations to him. We've got Sergio Perez about 17 seconds back coming through. So we'll see him come down the straight here, take that second position, and then shortly after we'll have that nice blue and orange McLaren.
It's not orange, dude. It's papaya.
Sorry, blue or sky blue and papaya. Is that sky blue?
There you go. Sherwin-Williams would be proud.
Wow. So very interesting race. Leclerc gets himself back up to P6 and kind of pick up as much as he could. But really, really tough way to end that race for Leclerc and Ferrari. There's going to be a lot of disappointment, I think, from there. And Max is just saying this is a lovely Sunday with the P1 fastest lap, P1 in the sprint race, and then Checo in P2. That's awesome.
Yeah, great weekend for Red Bull. Obviously, great weekend for Lando. I think McLaren's going to be happy that they're up on the podium, especially after Daniel had the collision on lap 1. Obviously, thank gosh he was still able to finish the race there for McLaren. But yeah, just great finish, great race overall. Lot of fun. Now, Aaron, do you have any words before we close it out here?
No, I mean, that was just a really fun, interesting race. So thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate everyone being here to check out the races with us, check out our recap of everything, and some notes on more things that we see over the coming week into the podcast. But thank you again for listening.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody on the podcast this Thursday. Tune in, tall and short of it, on YouTube, Spotify, and Google. This has been another Race Companion. This is Imola 2022. Peace out, everyone.
Later.